They say a mother's heart is the only place where a child is always a king. But for some, that king grows up to be a tyrant. In a small, forgotten corner of a bustling town, there stood a house that smelled of old wood and deep loneliness. This was the house of Fatima, a woman who had spent 40 years of her life inside these four walls, raising a son who eventually forgot her name. Aryan didn't come to visit his mother when she was gasping for air in her final days. Nor did he come when the neighbors called to say she had passed away. He came today, 3 days after her funeral, not with flowers or prayers, but with greed burning in his eyes. He believed his mother, despite her apparent poverty, had hidden her ancestral gold somewhere in this ruin he called a home. His wife had whispered in his ear for years, "Your mother was stingy. She must have millions tucked away." And today, Aryan was determined to find it. He entered the house like a storm, his expensive shoes clicking against the dusty floorboards. He started throwing things aside with a cold, calculated rage. He broke the clay pots she used for cooking, threw her tattered cotton cerise into the dirt, and ripped open her old, flat pillows, watching the feathers fly like snow in the dim light. He searched behind the old, faded photographs of himself as a child, behind the loose bricks in the kitchen, and under the floorboards of her small prayer corner. "Where did the old woman hide it?" he cursed, his voice echoing in the hollow silence. Rage boiled in his blood as he felt cheated of an inheritance he felt he deserved. He took a heavy iron rod and began to strike the walls, intending to tear the house down brick by brick until he found the treasure he was certain existed. With every blow of the iron rod, the house groaned as if it were crying out in pain. Aryan struck the side of the wooden bed frame where his mother had spent her final, lonely nights. The wood cracked open and a small, faded yellow envelope fell out onto the dusty floor. Aryan froze, his breath hitching. "Finally," he whispered, his heart racing with the thrill of the hunt. He dropped the rod and knelt down, his fingers trembling as he tore the envelope open. But there was no metal inside. No diamonds sparkled back at him. Instead, he found a small, crumpled piece of paper, a receipt from one of the most prestigious luxury clothing brands in the city, the very same brand Aryan wore to impress his wealthy business partners. He looked at the dates on the receipt, and his world began to tilt. It showed a list of small, agonizing payments. $5, $10, sometimes only $2, dated every single month for the last 5 years. For 60 months, his mother had walked 5 miles on foot to that luxury shop, her frail legs carrying her through heat and rain. She was paying for a custom-made, handcrafted Italian suit. The total cost was more than she had spent on her own food for an entire year. Tucked behind the receipt was a small, shaky note written in a hand that had clearly been weakened by age. It read, "For my son's 30th birthday. I want him to look like a king, even if his mother lives like a beggar. The suit is waiting at the shop, fully paid. I finally gave them the last coin today." The iron rod fell from Aryan's hand with a deafening thud. He looked around the room he had just systematically destroyed in his search for gold, and realized he was standing in the middle of a temple of sacrifice. He saw the empty medicine bottles on the bedside table and realized she had never bought her heart medicine for 5 years, so she could pay for his suit. He saw the holes in her only pair of sandals and remembered how he had mocked her for being dirty and old-fashioned. The gold he was looking for was never hidden in the walls. It was in the hunger she felt so he could be full, and in the silence she kept while he insulted her. Aryan fell to his knees in the dust of the house he had tried to demolish, realization hitting him like a physical blow. He had come to destroy her house, but the quiet, enduring love of a mother had just destroyed his ego. leaving him with a luxury suit he was now too ashamed to ever wear.